Hi, welcome back. This is School at Home. I'm Joe Scott. This is my friend Rebecca. And this week we're going to be talking about how to help your child stay engaged with online learning and to talk about, how to help your child stay engaged with online learning. So I'm going to go ahead and start because I am a stay-at-home mom, but I also work part-time. And during that part-time working, I've had to figure out how to help my kids stay on task. And so I'm going to let you know some of the things that I do and other things that I've learned through teaching that will hopefully help your kids stay on task. And also some interesting facts that parents that don't have a background in the education system might not know. So first of all, with my own children, when it comes to the times that I'm not home, I want to make sure that they are engaged in things that they can do on their own and that they find engaging. And so what does that look like for schooling at home? That means that the tasks that they're doing with the teacher are the things that you know they can do, or are the things that you know that they're only limited to do. So one of my friends whose children, she's able to be at home with her children, she recently found out that on the iPad, there is an area in the control center called guided access. And the reason this is relevant is because with guided access, you can lock the iPad into one app. So that means that you can lock your child's iPad into ClassLink. That means that when you're gone, you know they only have access to the things in ClassLink. So that means that they can only access like the Zoom calls. They can only access Seesaw. That's what the name of that app is. ST Math. They can access all the things in that app, which are all school related. And so if they decided, excuse me, it's Saturday morning at the Scott House, that they're not going to listen to the video, but there's still nowhere else they can go. So they're going to do something related to school. So you know that that is there. That's one of the most reliable ways to make sure your kid is able to stay on task, even if you don't have control necessarily of what that task is. And so, because I know a lot of the elementary schools, a lot of the extra tasks they're allowed to do are ST Math, Epic, they might still have Tumble books, iReady, all things that are education related. And then on those apps, there are ways to check how much time they spent in each of those locations. And so, you have a lot more control over knowing what it is they're doing than you think. And so there are definitely ways to know how to do that. So that gets into the second part, is communicating with your teacher. So people that are not in education sometimes hesitate to communicate with teachers because they feel like, hey, maybe I'm asking too many questions, or maybe I'm bugging them, or maybe this question's a stupid question and I don't want to look stupid. Okay, you are not harassing your teacher by asking, how do I do this thing? Asking that is not a stupid question, especially right now when everything is different. Please, 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 please ask the questions. And there are no stupid questions, especially like with math. There's a lot of questions around math right now. And this is only the, I think, 4th year that the math curriculum for elementary has been used. So a lot of people are still in that process of really learning how it works, and teaching it completely online is completely different from everybody. So ask the questions. Please, please, please ask the questions. Some people are getting frustrated because their child might have a question in the middle of a Zoom meeting, and then they're not able to help their child raise their hand in the Zoom meeting, and then the Zoom meeting's over. Email that teacher. That teacher wants to hear from you. There is no too late. And the teachers right now are setting up private meetings afterwards to talk with kids one-on-one. So a Zoom meeting might be over, and then they're like, hey, your kid wants to talk. Let's hop right back on there. We can talk. They have time in between, and then they have time afterwards. Like, they have office hours so they can talk individually with kids, And they are very much wanting to conversate, bad English, but converse with parents. When I was teaching, I loved when my parents would email. And then I loved when my parents would let me know what's happening at home versus what's happening in school. So if I had a student at school that was saying, I can't read this, and I'm like, let's try that. And they were able to do so much. And then I would be like, hey, mom, what are you seeing at home? And mom is like, oh, they cry and fuss and fight when they have to read. Hey, just so you know, they're not pulling that here, or vice versa. And then you're able to be in communication on how to help your student. And that is what teachers want every time. I promise you, that is what they want. So if you're going into communication with your teacher, not complaining about what is happening, because I promise you, none of us are happy about what is happening right now. Right now, this is a strain on everybody's emotional resources and everything else as well. So they are definitely on your side on that part. So go in saying, okay, my student is struggling with understanding how to do the math in this format. My student is struggling emotionally right now. Like they are so frustrated that they're just not getting it. How can I help them? What other resources do we have right now? I have one friend that's figured out that her son does not get auditory. So she's figured out to write things down for her child. If you don't have the time to write things down for your child, ask your teacher, how can you help with this? And they'll be like, I got you. Okay, let me print out my notes and I will email them to you and you can print them out. They are there to help you. There are no stupid questions. You are not wasting anybody's time. And that is elementary school through high school. Yes, your middle schoolers may have 8 teachers and all 8 teachers want to be there for your child, even advisory, especially advisory. They are there to answer questions and to help build community for your child. And they're there for you. This is a community where they're there for you. So email, call, they got the numbers. Call them, email them, and know that they're going through it too. And they want to walk alongside you in this. Okay? All right. That's what I have for you. Yes.
Okay, so I am going to talk about just some basic tips for how to help your kids learn online today. So some of these we've talked about before. We covered this one in the first video, but these are a couple of things that are new. It might help younger kids if they have a visual checklist of what they have to do every day. So maybe every day your kid has a reading lesson, then a math lesson, then a break. If you have little picture cards for your younger learner, it might help them to see that they're actually getting something done because they can move one picture card to the done pile after they do it. It also might help them to feel in control and to see what's happening next. Something else, if your child is frustrated, you can modify the routine. I think in general, you can modify the routine. You can have them take a break. If your kid is really engaged, you can allow more time instead of taking a break. And the last thing, which we talked about in the first week as well, is that your relationship with your child and his or her emotional well-being are more important than any task they're going to do this year. So if that's the only thing you get from this talk, that's the most important thing. So I'm just going to say it again. All right, we talked about this in the first video too. It's important to, if you're doing online learning, to set up a workspace. Does your child need it to be really, really quiet? Should they be in their room? Or do they need you to be watching everything they're doing to make sure they're on task? Or do they need both? These are questions you need to ask yourself when you figure out where to put them, and don't feel like you're locked in. If you've been having them in a certain part of your house and it's not working, maybe try them in a different place. Maybe if they have a window that they can look out and see nature outside, that's going to help calm them down and just have something to do visually while they're listening to their teacher talking. And then just have those materials really close by so they can just grab them.
Right. And then again, remember, we're in a community. So right now, since I am a stay-at-home, I'm offering one of my friends whose child is struggling a little bit. Hey, do you want them to come here and work? I'm here. And so don't be ashamed to ask, hey, you have a stay-at-home mom and you have one middle schooler that needs somebody just to be there to make sure that they are not playing something else or watching YouTube instead of doing school. Hey, do you think you can watch my kid a couple hours, a couple days a week? Because right now, staring at their own walls is driving them crazy. And that's okay. Again, we're in this together. So don't be an island.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit, but with online learning especially, they need to be having a snack every couple hours. They need to be having water close by. Something else, since they're sitting a lot, if you could get them something to play with in their hands, or fidget spinners, or I know Joe did a study or tried to get balls for all of her kids to sit on. So it's like a chair with one of those exercise balls in it. And studies have shown that those balls help kids pay attention. They help kids with their handwriting. They help kids with their behavior. So if your kid is having trouble just sitting, maybe you want to just borrow one from somebody or buy one. They aren't that expensive, just the ball, so they can be moving. A couple ideas for things to hold are silly putty or thinking putty. Those things you have to be a little bit careful of getting smashed into the carpet. It does come out mostly. Squeeze balls or stress balls might be a little bit safer. Fidget spinners, gum works well. Yep, there's some gum. Another thing that I read was just a lot of things about modeling, like talking to your kids about how you know that this is a new thing and telling them about something new that you've done, telling them about a time that you worked really hard to prepare for something, or you worked really hard because you weren't good at it when you started. Don't make these long lectures or expect them to be enthralled with your stories, but just know that modeling is a very powerful tool in the long run. And also remember that your actions and attitudes all day long, you're modeling to your kids. So if you're freaking out when the technology breaks down, you're modeling a behavior to them. All right, something else. There's a couple pages on this. Brain breaks. Kids might need a break every 5 minutes or up to 25 minutes. And I don't believe that it actually has to do with their age. I think it has to do with a lot of other factors. So I may have a younger child who can go 25 minutes strong and an older child who can only manage 10. So don't judge your kid based on that. That's just where they're at. So if feasible, you can make a standing place so they can have a place to do online learning and stand up. You can have them inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. There were a lot of exercises having to do with the right and left side of the body. So maybe they tap 1 time with their right foot and 2 with their left, and then 3 with the right, and just go back and forth. Maybe you assign them some kind of wiggle break. So they have to go outside and throw 10 free throws or run around the house 3 times. Just getting active can help their brains. Here's another right and left side one. Touch their ear with their right hand and touch their nose with their left hand, then switch. So it makes them use their brain, and the right-left switching helps. Have your kid pretend they're jumping on a mini trampoline in front of the computer and give them a couple minutes. The reason why you're having them pretend they're on a trampoline is so they don't end up jumping all over the entire room. But if that's okay with you, go for it. Call out 5 actions for them to do as quickly as they can. So 5 jumping jacks, 4 push-ups, 3 sit-ups, 2 squat jumps, and 1 tree pose. So basically, you're just being creative, giving them some movement in the middle of their brain stuff. That's why it's called the brain break. You're giving their brain a break, basically. Have your kid walk around the room like an animal. This was very popular at my house. Or they can even pick the animal and make you do it with them. Whatever's fun, just get them moving. Another thing that helps during this online time is to help them stay in touch with their friends. So we have a set group of friends that we meet with every week at a certain time. That's one way to do it. Another way would be to do a video chat. The thing is, you just need to be careful. For me, it's easier to schedule it because if it's not on the schedule, it's going to get cut. Another option is participating in church activities, and there are some local art classes and athletic activities if you're comfortable getting out and doing that. Give your kids positive feedback. Be specific. Don't just say, great job, but actually tell them how they've made progress. How have you noticed them being kind or clever, insightful? How have they stepped out of their comfort zone in a way that you hadn't seen them do before? Remind your kid it's okay to struggle and that you admire them when they're working hard to improve at something. We have done some reward systems, but you got to realize that's going to change their behavior, but not necessarily their heart. You might want to use a sticker chart, and then they get a prize when they get to like 10 days of stickers where they didn't do whatever action you are trying to eliminate, or they did do the things you're trying to encourage. Or maybe they get to go to the park, or maybe they get to do a lunch out with mom and dad. These are really similar to things that the private schools are doing, and probably the public schools are doing too at certain ages. And then the last thing is just, I would encourage you to check in with your kid every night. So ask them something like, what was one thing you learned today? What's one thing you did today that you were proud of? What's one thing that you felt happy about today? And I'll post these on the website, but just so you're connecting with your kid and so that you're helping them kind of reflect on their day. What was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? What made you laugh today? Things like that. That's all I have for today. Hopefully that was helpful bits and pieces for you.
Yeah, and like everything that she said is still applicable to older kids. And so I've created the schedules and then shared them with my older son, and it's a schedule that comes up on his daily reminders on his phone. And so that is, okay, get up, do this, do this, do this, do this. There was another, journaling, those last questions. Well, he's older now, and so I don't ask him the questions, but he journals at night now. That's a part of his calm down routine. Reflect on your day. Okay, what happened? What isn't? Same thing with setting out play dates. We're working with a different homeschool moms of kids that enjoy Fortnite. Lord help us all. But they get to set up Fortnite parties. And so they can kind of talk to each other organically from wherever they are in the country, or setting up email pen pals. So other things that you're like, okay, but my kid's a little old for that. Tailor it. Tailor it for our older kids. We set up a play date at the park, and then it rained. And so then they played football in the rain. They were a mess and they loved it. We can still go to the park. And so, yeah, tailor it for your older kids too. But they do need those positive interactions, and they need those, the reminder that there's other people out there and that we're around. Yeah. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.